This interest rate environment has created a lot of questions about borrowing and lending for advisors, and some questions when it comes to succession planning. Joined today by Alicia Chandler from Oak Street Funding to discuss just that. Alicia, welcome.
Thank you for having me.
So Alicia, talk to us about how the interest rate environment, what impact it's had when it comes to borrowing and lending.
Sure. So you think about it, the interest rates haven't gone up this quickly in a long time. Actually, probably never in the history that a lot of us can even remember. So today you have people thinking about, is it too expensive to borrow for, say, an acquisition or for succession planning? And my answer is no, it's not too expensive for anything that's going to be accretive to your firm, or if it's the right decision. Just because the interest rate has gone up doesn't make an acquisition a bad acquisition. It doesn't make someone stop aging if they're looking for a succession plan. And so they need to continue to operate the business. A good owner or operator is going to take a look at that debt, make sure that the leverage is acceptable, make sure that they work with their lender to ensure that the debt service can be covered by the cash flow, and continue to move on, because otherwise they're going to be falling further and further behind.
Succession planning is such an interesting topic because there are so many advisors moving toward retirement, but still they don't have all their succession ducks in a row, if you will. Why are advisors still struggling so much when it comes to succession planning?
You know, I think it's the classic founder syndrome, and you see it in many industries, but in this industry, it's almost shocking when you hear the numbers of people that have not, maybe unintentionally, I think they just don't want to admit that they're getting to a point where they want to retire and let that go. And so we have conversations with folks all the time about they're planning to retire, they want to pass it on to that next generation, but they really need to sit down and have that transparent conversation with their G2 or look for that G2 and really talk about how that transition is going to work. A lot of times what we see is someone will go ahead and start that process, they'll get it documented, and they'll step back over time, maybe transition some operations, some management responsibilities. Obviously, the most important thing is going to be the clients. And so they need to stage out that succession. And that's exactly what a loan with Oak Street can do. We can do, different percentages of ownership over time. We can do shareholder buyouts. We can do partner buy-ins. And those are all tools that will help a founder ultimately recognize and have that liquidity event and recognize the value of the hard work that they've put in for, some of them 30, 40 years.
Because it's more than a business for them. This is their nest egg. This is what they've saved for their next,
yes,
for whatever's next in their life too. And it's so interesting because you mentioned G2. I think there's so many G2s that also look at succession and say, I can't afford that. I don't have the money to start a practice or a business right now, even if I am the logical successor. So from that perspective, how are you guys helping G2 be ready to take on this responsibility of ownership?
So we were actually just having that conversation with someone inside at our booth. It's all about the person G2 being ready mentally to take that step, because we know that a lot of these folks aren't going to have a couple $100,000 or $1 million in the bank. That's just not going to be the case. And so what we're going to do is take a look at their personal financials, their personal situation. We're going to look at the firm, look at its leverage, look at its AUM, look at its cash flow. And we're going to make a loan to that G2 so that they can pay the firm to buy in. And then the firm will guarantee the loan to the G2 in case there are any. It's ultimately the backstop. And we just have to make sure that the distributions to G2 will cover the loan on a monthly basis.
At the end of the day, just having a team like Oak Street in their corner makes whether you're creating a succession plan or the successor, great. You guys do such a great job. Thank you so much for making time to join us today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
For Edge TV, I'm Matt Ackerman.